everybody! Coming back at you again today for a little Blu-ray update. I know I'm probably not like perfectly centered or whatever. I feel like I am, but it's like I also feel like I'm not. So yeah, we'll just hope that I am. Anyways, today I picked up a Blu-ray that I've been told a lot about. That people have been telling me that I definitely need to check out. They keep saying, oh, you don't want to see the theatrical cut, you want to see the extended cut. The extended cut is the one you want to see. So, yeah, I waited around until I could find a decent price on the extended cut. It had gone to this price before, but I never, like, at the time that it was down at this price before, I wasn't really interested in it because I hadn't really heard that many good things about it. But since then, I've heard many good things about it. Many people praising this movie, so I figured might as well check it out for $5 on Blu-ray. The extended edition of Sucker Punch. Now, I actually did end up checking this out, watching this on Blu-ray after picking it up, and I was pleasantly surprised. This is very much a, it's filled with, dream sequences within dream sequences. Almost feels like Inception in some ways, but it's also very much just its own separate commentary on our society in general, and on, well, I would say misogyny that actually does exist in our society. But, yes, what I really loved about this movie, I mean, you know me, I am a sucker for strong women in film. I love North Country, I love Monster, I love every movie that Charlize Theron has played a strong female character in. I mean, it sounds silly, but, you know, I'm just saying she likes to play strong characters, and she's really freaking good at it, so, yeah, I really love the movies that she does with strong characters. I don't think I love everything she's ever done, but Charlize Theron is a pretty damn good actress. I mean, I don't think there's any denying that. And even though she's not in this movie, this is very much in the same line of, really strong female characters. And they're not just strong because, oh, they're fighting female characters who are taking on the role of men who, you know, typically are the ones who go into war with guns and like gunplay and stuff like that. It's not just because of that. Those sequences, although there are a few of them in the film, only make up a fraction of the actual story of what's going on here. And in every other essence of the story, we see a really strong female character trying to work through all of the issues that she's developed over a lifetime of dealing with this fucked up stepfather that she's had. And it's just this really stylistic, beautiful film. And when it comes to the action sequences, what I did really like about them was that they were so well done. Now, of course, you might expect something like that from Zack Snyder. The director is Zack Snyder, who worked on, previously, I believe, on Watchmen. Watchmen was also an excellent film. A lot of people didn't like it, but I felt like it was an excellent interpretation of a graphic novel, you know? And, you know, he really has a way for bringing that kind of stuff to life. In fact, I would love to see this man bring other comics and manga to life, because he does a really damn good job at it. And in particular, as I was watching Sucker Punch, some of the action scenes that I was seeing, the way that Baby Doll here ends up getting at a few times getting pummeled into the ground, it reminded me, I was reminiscing about Dragon Ball Z, because, you know, back in the day I used to watch Dragon Ball Z all the time on Toonami and whatnot, and, you know, I was a huge Dragon Ball Z fan back then, and to this day I'm still a fairly big fan of the show. I think it doesn't get as much credit as it deserves. It's typically seen as being a little shallow and whatnot, and sure it is, just to a certain extent. But, you know, it's also really fun and has this long, developing story that just goes into some crazy but really interesting places. And I love all the sci-fi and fantasy elements of it. It's just beautiful, fantastic. And as I was watching this movie, Sucker Punch, I was remarking, like, Dragon Ball Evolution sucked. Every attempt to do live-action Dragon Ball anything has sucked. But if there was anyone out there who could actually do the job, it's Zack fucking Snyder. And he proved it with this movie, honestly, with those action scenes in this movie. They were so freaking good and so on point and so very much Dragon Ball Z-esque that I just, as I was watching, I'm just like, this is what a Dragon Ball Z movie would look like in live action. And I feel like a lot of that comes from the fact that a lot of the action you see in this is kind of inspired by a comic book or manga style, and you, of course, see a lot of that style coming through in Dragon Ball Z. So it's not necessarily that Zack Snyder was pulling from Dragon Ball Z, but more the elements of Dragon Ball Z that, you know, went on to become the show and whatnot. So, yeah, in the end, what I would say is Zack Snyder, if Sucker Punch proved anything to me with its action scenes, it proved to me that Zack Snyder would be the perfect person to direct a live-action Dragon Ball Z movie. But if it proved anything else to me, in terms of like the style of the film, it's very stylistic, heavily stylistic. There's a scene in which, you know, because I'm a film buff and I know what to look for in this way, it kind of ruins it sometimes. But, you know, there's a scene in which at the very beginning, you see, you know, character way background, the character in the middle ground, right? And then in the foreground, you see this huge button that's swirling down onto the ground. And, you know, what people don't realize is that actually was a huge fucking button. It wasn't like a close-up of a little button or anything. No. He actually got a huge button to do this stylistic approach to this, which is it felt very much like German Expressionism in a way. And a lot of the stuff in this movie does kind of feel like that. It feels very much like, you know, German Expressionism. So, you know, he's pulling from manga sources, he's pulling from video game concepts, he's pulling from all these sci-fi and fantasy elements that have existed over the years, he's pulling from, like, graphic novel inspiration, and he's pulling from, like, German Expressionism and noir and from, you know, cabaret and all these different, like, genres and movements throughout film history and throughout, you know, the history of graphic novels and manga and all these other things as well. He's pulling from so many different sources with this movie that it's just absolutely beautiful and mind-blowing. I loved it. I wouldn't say it's like my favorite film ever or anything like that. What I would say is that I really enjoyed it. You know, I would say it's maybe like a 7 or 8 out of 10. And, you know, I will watch again. Very much enjoyed. I watched the extended cut. I did not see the theatrical cut. But from what I saw of the extended cut, yeah, this was an amazing movie. The only problem, of course, being that the only special feature here is maximum movie mode, which I don't know, not my kind of thing. But it was nice that it came with the theatrical version on Blu-ray on this side and the extended version on Blu-ray on this side. What was not nice is that these discs are literally identical. Alright? Take a good look at this disc, and now take a good look at this disc. They are identical, except, of course, for one little thing. Did you notice it? Did you notice? Sorry. There. Got the light. So here you see Sucker Punch. On this side, in tiny lettering at the top here, extended cut. Just ever so slightly up at the top there, extended cut. So yeah, Very, very difficult to tell apart. In fact, at first I couldn't tell them apart until I looked at the top here of the disc, and this disc says 127 minutes, while this disc here says 110 minutes. So I figured, extended cut is going to be longer. That must be the extended cut at 127 minutes. And of course, it was. So yeah. Tell me what you thought of Sucker Punch if you have checked it out. If you haven't checked it out, then I highly recommend doing so. It's fucking phenomenal. I know a lot of people didn't like this movie, but I did. I thought it was pretty cool. So if you didn't like it, I would like to know why. You know, I'd like to see your opinions in the comments. Yeah. Anyway, that is it. For $5 I picked up Sucker Punch on Blu-ray, and that's the only pickup I've made recently. So, yeah. Still, nice little addition, because I hadn't seen it yet, so... Anyway, that'll do it for today. Thanks for watching. Catch you later. Peace.